Greetings, fight nerds. Welcome to Combat Chit Chat, the fastest growing combat sports channel in the world. Today's topic UFC Noche main event.
This is how legends are made.
So, let's get straight into it. Wow. Wow. That was my reaction. This fight was everything I expected in some ways, but in some ways it wasn't. Firstly, we all know that both guys are super aggressive on the feet in the grappling department also. um I did think that both men will come out straight. You know what it is. Look, time and time again, we've seen where there's friction going into a fight between two fighters or two camps that genuinely dislike one another. It's not just theatrics for the camera, just to build hype, to sell tickets for the fight. A lot of times that is. A lot of times it's just, fake beef. It's just, they're just trying to drive traffic towards the fight to sell more, make more money, pay per view sales, more exposure, etc. And that's all fine. I don't mind it. But this one, there is a genuine, a genuine disconnect and friction between Diego Lopes and the Fighting Nerds camp, especially in particular Diego Lopes and John Silva. And we've seen the lead up to it. They've had one or two run-ins with each other. They've said a lot of things about each other in the media, especially Silva. This guy he's very emotional. Wears his heart on his sleeve, and there was a lot of tension going into this fight. And outside of that as well, both guys generally are very aggressive fighters. They're both violent. Both fighters are very violent. Um, Silva literally puts his chin out there and goes into this rock'em sock'em style. So, and that's exactly how it played out. That's exactly how it played out. So, when I analyze both guys and have seen their run up, this with this fight going into it, I had Silva to win. You know, I'll be very honest. I did think that Silva is much more skilled than Diego Lopes. His defense is much better. He's got better footwork. He's got better head movement. His IQ is better. This is how I saw it, anyways. And Lopez is just a rock'em sock'em type of guy. He relies on his chin way too much. He literally blocks shots with his head, with his face. And there was a lot of stakes in this fight. Obviously, there was a lot of bragging rights already on the table as it is. Um, Two Brazilian fighters main eventing a Mexican card, ironically. Lopez had already fought the featherweight champion, the current featherweight champion, Alexander Volkanovski, several months ago and came up short. He lost. Silva, on the other hand, has been on this crazy tear in the UFC. He's finished everyone he's fought. He's either finished them by KO or submission. I think he's only got the one submission, which was against Bryce Mitchell. Um, but yeah, he's got 100% finish rate and is undefeated in the UFC. Now, had Silva won, I could see a world where he potentially could have skipped the line over Leron Murphy and go ahead and challenge Volkanovski for the title. So, anyways, that's all of the lead up and what was at stakes in this fight. So let's get into the fight itself. Round one begins, right? And they started off slow. The first 3 minutes was just a feel up round, which I was very happy about. In a 5 round fight, there's no need to just, come like a bat out of hell and just gas out. Um, So Lopez started off with some of the calf kicks, right? Which after I think just after three calf kicks, you could see a massive welt on Silva's left leg, his lead leg, and I was like, okay, yeah, this will cause him problems going forward. He obviously toughened that out, ignored the pain, carried on moving forward, carried on attacking, and um, all of a sudden, out of nowhere, I don't know why he did this, and I hate it when fighters do this, especially at the beginning of the fight when both fighters are dry. He throws a spinning back kick where he misses. Lopez done the correct thing by capitalizing on this miss, takes Silva's back and takes him down and absolutely obliterates Silva. I mean, he all of this tension that they had between each other, all of this frustration that they had between each other, this everything that built up to it. Silva literally unleashed that on Silva as soon as Lopez took him down. When Silva made that mistake, takes him down, takes his back, and just starts raining down with vicious elbows, cut Silva open. And I literally got on my seat and I was like, oh my god, this fight is about to get stopped. This fight is about to get stopped. Silva is going to get TKO'd. Um, Kudos to Silva, it was the first time he was taken down, I believe. Well, anyways, it's the first time he was in mounted position in the UFC where his back's against the canvas. So that was a good experience for him in some ways, as he was first time he was tested there by an elite grappler. He done what he had to do to try to get out of it. I don't know how he managed to pull that off. I have to rewatch the tape. Somehow, after getting absolutely abused for like 2 minutes straight, he eventually got back up, um, and sustained a huge amount of damage. Blood leaking everywhere, head was cut open, and that's when the fight got interesting. There was like approximately 1 minute left of the round, and now you see Silva is really frustrated. He's angry right now, and his ego is hurt. He wants to get one back, and then pum 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 pum. Next thing you know, at striking distance, Silva starts touching Lopez at striking distance on the feet. Nothing major, nothing major had happened, but we saw glimpses where we could see that on the feet, on the feet, Silva has Lopez's number. But it will get interesting when it gets to the second round, right? Because both fighters are right now at this point. They're a little bit worn out. It was a sprint the first round. We go into the second round now. Um, at this point now, Silva has made some adjustments. Lopez isn't shooting as much, um, especially because the opportunity itself didn't present itself. And now he's forced to strike with Silva. And like I said, going into the fight, as expected, I did expect Silva to be the better striker, especially at distance. Do you know what I mean? Like when when they were in close range in the clinch, I felt like Lopez was better because he's got this dirty, very sneaky and crafty inside boxing. He'll throw a sneaky uppercut when you don't see it. He'll throw an overhand around the guard. He'll throw a hook, which you won't see coming from the clinch. So he did land some of those from the clinch. Nothing major, nothing that absolutely stunned or remotely even hurt Silva. It appeared to seem that way anyways. But boy, as we got to the second half of the second round, Silva was absolutely outclassing Lopez on the feet at a striking distance. He made a lot of mistakes too, which I should mention right now actually. Silva, when I saw the second round and when it was playing out and Silva was, getting the better of Lopez, I saw there's either a lack of fighting IQ or it's a skill set issue. His distance control management isn't the greatest. Already you already know Lopez can take you down. He mat returned Silva like 3 times in the first round, I believe. And, you know, he's allowing Silva to back him up behind the black line. In the octagon where the black line is, they say that if you're a striker and you have a wrestler opposite of you, do not let him push you behind the black line, because once you get pushed behind the black line, the grappler will shoot for a single or a double leg, eventually press your back against the clinch, and he will start working from there. So I've noticed a lot of times, Leon Edwards is famous for this. He does the same thing. He allows grapplers to push him and press him against the cage. This did happen a couple of times, even in the second round. But nothing, it didn't cost him much. Silva, I mean, he got out of harm's way. But yeah, so he made a few mistakes there. But anyways, eventually he gets into a rhythm, he gets into a flow, and he started absolutely throwing bombs at at Lopez. Silva started catching Lopez with heavy, heavy shots. Now, there's two things to be said here, right? Either I underestimated Lopez's chin, or I overestimated Silva's power. Which one is it? I'm not sure. We already knew that Lopez has a formidable chin. He's very durable. Having said that, though, Max Holloway, we all thought the same about Max Holloway, right? Max Holloway, throughout his whole career, was never, forget getting knocked out, forget even getting buzzed. His body never even touched the canvas. No fighter before Ilia Topuria had even managed to knock Max down, right? He was known to have arguably the greatest chin of UFC history. So, and he gets absolutely sparked out clean by Topuria. I thought Silva has the same level of power as Topuria, just because of his lead up in his past few fights, the way he's just dropping everyone like flies. So either Silva doesn't have as much power as I thought, or Lopez's chin is just made out of iron, or maybe it's a mixture of both. So Lopez manages to eat all these shots. They're going. At this point now, obviously we saw this finishing sequence where Silva pushes Lopez against the cage. He had him hurt, and now like Silva smells blood, and he thought, okay, now's the time. Now's the time to go for the finish. I think he was about to press in and throw an over right hand or maybe a straight, and in between, Lopez reads that. He intercepts it with his own spinning back elbow, drops Silva, and then starts throwing ground and pound at the back of the head, by the way, which the referee didn't do nothing about. There was like 15 seconds left in the round. He throws for 5 seconds. He's just throwing back of the head shots at Silva. Ref doesn't do nothing about it. There's 10 seconds remaining on the clock, and the referee stops the fight. And for me, that was the most BS stoppage this year. Like, the guy is literally attacking a grounded opponent at the back of the head. You're not doing nothing as the referee. There's 10 seconds left of the fight. Main event, UFC Noche. There's so much at stake. Silva could have potentially won and got the title shot, and you just didn't give him a chance to burn the clock. There was 10 seconds left. Anyone that disagrees in the comment section, go back and watch the Adesanya and Gastelum fight. The same thing happened. Izzy Israel Adesanya drops Gastelum, like actually drops him, and there was like literally 10 seconds left on the clock. The referee was Mark Goddard, and he let Gastelum ride the clock. And there was no controversy there. Izzy didn't throw any back of the head shots or anything like that. Everything was clean. There was no complaints from Gastelum or his team or his corner or his fans. So for me, that was I don't agree with that stoppage. I genuinely think, had Silva survived the round and the ref let him ride the clock, he would have come back in round three and recouped and probably even get a finish at the end of round three because he ended up. Look at round two. Look at round one to round two. He ended up catching on to Lopez's timing. He got into a rhythm and a flow, and he was absolutely throwing bombs at Lopez's chin. Eventually, probably would have cracked it. You know, he was throwing clean shots, clean hooks. He, Silva showed the world that he is a very seasoned striker. Even though he's making mistakes, the guy literally uses all 8 of his limbs. He's got kicks. He's got teep kicks. He in the first round he landed a teep kick right to Lopez's chin in the first round. He done it again in the second round. He's throwing elbows from top, from inside the clinch, from range. He's throwing spinning back elbows, which they're flashy and they're cool to look at. I personally don't like it. If I'm Team Silva, it's very risky. You miss one of those shots, you get your back taken, or you end up running into a shot. It's fan friendly. I personally don't like it just because of the risk factor, but it's aesthetically pleasing. I guess the fans like it, right? But point is, Silva is a very seasoned striker, and what we've learnt from that fight is Silva, in just a striking battle, he's got Lopez's number all day long. All day long. Even though he got clipped with that elbow, that literally could have happened to any fighter. Do you remember Alex Pereira when he had the rematch with Israel Adesanya? A fight that Pereira was winning, and he backed Adesanya up against the cage, and Adesanya shows up like this, and then boom, throws the over right hand out of hell, out of nowhere, and absolutely flatlines Pereira, leaves his body like a dead corpse in the octagon. Or another moment when Wonderboy back in the days fought Anthony Pettis. He was absolutely outclassing Pettis, and then boom, out of nowhere, he pressed Pettis against to the cage, and then Pettis just bounces off the cage like a ninja with a Superman punch, and he knocks out Wonderboy, the first guy to knock out Wonderboy. So these things can happen, you know, just because Lopez ended up catching Silva with that spinning elbow, by no means does that mean he's the better striker. As for Lopez, though, he was impressive too. Firstly, his wrestling has improved. You know, aside from the fact that he got the takedown because of an error that came from Silva's side, there was more to it. He was chain wrestling. You know, when Silva tried getting up, he was doing mat returns. We haven't seen that from Lopez before. You know, his grappling, his BJJ was good. He didn't attempt any submission. He didn't throw any submission attempts, but the way he had control over Silva, the way he was transitioning and he was changing, like the way he got the mount, all of that is part of his grappling skills, and that's just layers there. That's new layers that we've seen to Lopez's game. So yeah, to summarize it all, great fight, very violent. I personally think we got robbed off an all-time classic. A lot of fans are saying this was gonna go down as fight of the year. I don't think so. Only because it was just a 2-round fight, you know, and the first round was not competitive because of the mistake Silva made. Lopez ends up dominating Silva, arguably got a 10-8 in the first round. So it might have been, it was probably the most exciting fight for 2 rounds. And dramatic, but we got robbed of an all-time classic because of that ref. Stupid, stupid ref. Amateur. But anyways, um, so that's that, and that's the main event wrapped up. Um, a sweet victory for Diego Lopes with all everything going into the fight, with all the trash talk, with all the tension. A a tough pill for John Silva to swallow, especially losing to Diego Lopes with everything going into it and all the trash talk and him saying that he's going to knock out Diego Lopes. I guess that was a bit of a humble pie, you know. Um, yeah. Where do we go from here? What's next for both fighters? Me personally, I would say Volk, the current champion, Alexander Volkanovski, defends his belt against Lerone Murphy, who very well deserves it with his win streak and his impressive last minute stepping into a fight because Movsar pulled out and he takes out Aaron Pico in the fashion he did. I think give him a chance. And I do favour Volk in that fight, but it will be technical. You know, Murphy will have his moments. I don't think anyone, I don't think even Diego Lopes fanboys want to see him fight for the title, especially against Volk after losing to him convincingly, and so soon. What I think should happen is Movsar had the chance to fight Pico and eventually win that fight and go and challenge Volk for the title, right? Diego Lopes, in his debut fight, on short notice, fought Movsar, a guy that everyone in the 145 division was avoiding for a very long time. Lopes came in and he came in clutch, you know, and put up a decent performance, you know. He didn't get finished, but then again, Movsar doesn't finish anyone. But, you know, I think he's proved it. Diego Lopes has done more and accomplished more than Movsar has in the UFC. You know, he's fought more than Movsar as well, I believe, and he's got more finishes for sure. He's got more exciting fights. He's got probably a bigger fan base. So just for that reason, I think Diego Lopes and Movsar on a full camp should run it back. I think that would make it a very interesting fight. As for Gene Silva, oh, I'm seeing a lot of comments and criticism from fans at John Silva and at the Fighting Nerds. Firstly, the first notion is people are saying the Fighting Nerds were fraud checked. They were fraud checked and John Silva got fraud checked by Diego Lopes. Now, I will maintain what I said and I will still stick to it. My stance on it is still firm, right? Before this fight, before the Silva and Lopes fight, I did say, and even a few months ago, I did say, out of the Fighting Nerds, out of Kyle Borralho, Carlos Prates, Hoofy, and John Silva, Silva is the most skilled and the most talented out of all of them. And I even predicted for Silva to clinch the 145 title. I said it, I put my hands up, but I still stick to that. I still stick to that. Look, if we evaluate Kyle Borralho, yeah, did he make some mistakes in the Nasruddin Imavov fight? Yes, he did. Where did he make mistakes? Well, he could have capitalized on the fact that Imavov has weak cardio. He's got horrible cardio, you know. So when I think Borralho attempted 7 or 8 takedowns in that fight. All of them got stuffed. He didn't secure a single takedown, and that's not because Imavov has got some crazy takedown defense. The same guy was getting ragdolled by Brandon Allen last year. Do you remember? If you guys remember that fight, go watch that again. Kyle Borralho, his takedown was from body locks. He was literally trying to get Imavov in a clinch and a body lock and work from there and eventually trip him over and take him down. No, no, that is not going to work on a seasoned fighter like Imavov, even if he does have average takedown defense. He could have shot low. He could have shot for a double leg, for a single leg. Um, he could have gone for an ankle pick. Um, there was many times where Imavov had left himself vulnerable and Bahalio didn't capitalize on it. So yes, he also has a lot of things to work on. In terms of the other part of the fight, the better fighter just won. Imavov is just truly the better fighter. He's just more skilled than Bahalio, you know? I would say Bahalio is the second, potentially the second best out of the fighting nerds after John Silva. Um, Houthi lost. Houthi is the weakest link out of that team. Houthi was getting ragdolled by BSD. Going into that fight, he was talking all this trash, saying his grappling is better than BSD, right? He was saying his jiu-jitsu is better. If you noticed in that fight, Houthi got taken down by BSD, and two times in the fight, Houthi managed to reverse BSD and get top position and did not capitalize on it. He didn't throw any ground and pound. He didn't attempt any dominant position. He didn't attempt any submission attempts. He let BSD get back up. He literally said to BSD, "Get up. My takedown defense is trash. Please expose me, take me down, and beat the pulp out of me." That's what he did. He invited BSD. He committed suicide. That's what he did on live national TV. He told another man, "Take me down and hold me down and beat the hell out of me." That's what he did. Houthi is a shameless guy. He has literally no shame. Zero shame. He's got no dignity. Because if he did, he wouldn't have fought the way he did. So that's another guy. Silva, when it comes down to the criticism of Silva, a lot of people are saying he got over aggressive and overzealous. There's two ways to look at it, right? Look, Silva felt like he had Lopes hurt, right? So I can smell blood. So why not go for the kill? Because this guy is dangerous. If I let him off the hook now, what are the chances that I will have him hurt in a vulnerable situation like this again? What are the chances of this situation presenting itself again for me to go for the kill? That's one. Two is um, Silva's legs were chewed up. You know, he took a lot of damage in his calf kicks. Maybe he didn't want to. Maybe he wanted to end the fight as soon as possible. You know, maybe he was like, "I can't fight like this for 5 rounds with one leg." Remember, Habib did the same with Justin Gaethje. Habib is not the guy to finish his opponents within 2 rounds. He doesn't usually fight like that. He didn't even throw any ground and pound. As soon as he took Gaethje down, he just finished up the night quick. And we all know he did that because Gaethje was chewing up his legs. Maybe Silva had the same situation. The third thing is there was so much hype. There was a lot on stake. Silva probably wanted to impress Dana White and the UFC, who wanted to jump the queue with Lerone Murphy and go fight Volk next for the title. How do you do that? You do that. You have to make yourself stand out by getting a second round finish against a seasoned opponent like Diego Lopes. So maybe that was in his head. At the same time, the other argument is potentially he got overzealous and over aggressive in a round that he was controlling. He was easily winning. He could have just, there's 15 seconds left in the round. He could have just backed up a little bit, throw a few jabs, throw a few teeps, keep Lopes at bay, keep him at range, and then restart again in round three. So I don't know. Did the fighting nerds get full checked? Did John Silva get full checked? I don't think John Silva got full checked by any means. If he can get over this mental battle of now losing, you see, sometimes when fighters have their first um, KO or TKO loss, they don't come back the same because mentally they're not there, you know. they're scared now. They fight very tentative. Um, so we'll see how Silva bounces back. I think after a few adjustments, I think he could be a world beater. Furthermore, I think in a rematch he can make the right adjustments and beat Lopes. I genuinely think that. I genuinely do. So would I say Silva got full checked? I don't think so. Hoofy, yes, I think Hoofy got full checked. Bahalio, not really. I think Bahalio's a good fighter. He beat he beat some of the top guys already at middleweight. He is one of the top guys himself, and it's not like Imavov walked over him. That was a competitive fight. So I don't think Bahalio is overrated or underrated. I think he's rated perfectly, exactly what he is. He's rated according to his skill set. Um, Prates. Prates is still remains to be unknown. I mean, he got absolutely outclassed by Ian Gary. Comes back and beats um, Jeff Neal in fanatic fashion as well. Prates, do I ever see him um, getting that 170 strap? No, I don't see him ever becoming the welterweight champion. Certainly not in my lifetime, anyways. Um, do I think he's overrated? I think we'll have to see a few more fights to know what his true potential is. Silva definitely isn't overrated. Bahalio definitely isn't overrated. Hoofy is definitely overrated. But yeah, tough month for the fighting nerds, you know, from uh they've literally gone from hero to zero within a month, from fighting nerds to fighting L's, fighting losses. That's what they are right now. They really need to get better coaches, travel around, go to different gyms, learn more from different coaches, get a different outlook on things. And yeah, but guys, up for now, this is it. I genuinely appreciate anyone that's has tuned into this video. This is my first ever official video on YouTube. Long form, anyways. I've got a few shorts. If you go click onto my playlist, you will see. So, guys, anyone that stayed all the way from the beginning till the end, I really, really, from the bottom of my heart, I appreciate it. I hope that you've enjoyed this segment. Um, I shall release more videos this week, and yeah, just subscribe, like, comment, all that good stuff, and hope to see you again in the next couple of days. Thank you.